Do you truly believe you are watching Netflix of your own free will? Think again. Most of us drift through recommendation lists like a herd following a mindless algorithm. But the 5 films I am sharing with you today are not mere entertainment. They are intellectual landmines that will plant doubts in your mind that won't easily fade. Today, I am exposing works that might make you feel uneasy, fearful, or perhaps even tempted to shut off the screen. Do you dare to face the dark side these stories hide behind the mask of entertainment? This list is not for the faint of heart or those looking to kill time. Stay alert. You might discover that you weren't the one watching the film, but rather, the film was playing with you, waiting for your masks to slip. The Occupant, Okja. Our journey begins with Javier, a man who embodies the fall from the peak of success to the depths of helplessness in a brutal cinematic study of obsession with the past. The film is not just a psychological thriller. It is a precise dissection of how loss can turn an ordinary person into a being who watches, interferes, and destroys others' lives to rebuild their own false sense of control. The brilliance of the film lies in its ability to make you wonder, are we truly masters of our decisions? Or are we merely reflections of our social circumstances that might drive us to commit the unthinkable? As Javier dives into the privacy of the new family that occupied his former home, the directors place us before a mirror that reflects how the desire to reclaim status can completely destroy one's humanity. This film is the perfect entry for our list because it poses a fundamental question. What remains of us when we lose everything that defines our identity to the world? It is a lesson in how innocent curiosity can turn into a lethal obsession that crushes anyone standing in the way of reclaiming a past that is already gone, paving the way for us to understand the fragility of the reality we live in, which leads directly to our next film, expanding the catastrophe from the individual to society at large. Leave the world behind. If the first film dismantled the identity of the individual, this film comes to dismantle the infrastructure of our entire civilization, as all threads of communication connecting us to the world suddenly snap. The film does not drown in scientific explanations or traditional alien invasion plots. Instead, it focuses terrifyingly on the psychological and social tension that arises in moments of absolute mystery. We are presented with a disaster drama that puts 2 families in one house and forces them to coexist while the world collapses outside, creating fertile ground for the growth of suspicion and paranoia. The curiosity that began in The Occupant turns here into an existential fear. When technology fails, the naked truth of humanity is revealed, and societal veneers evaporate to expose the survival instinct mixed with fear of the other. The film succeeds brilliantly in creating an atmosphere of unpredictability, where looks, incomplete sentences, and the silence of devices become more terrifying than any explosion. It is a harsh mental experience that makes you seriously wonder, are we truly prepared to face the unknown when stripped of our modern tools? This societal fragility portrayed by the film is exactly the environment that creates the seeds of total collapse, which is the subject of our third film, taking the concept of chaos to the level of systematic plan training. The collapse. After seeing how the world falls apart suddenly in the previous film, this film comes to pose a more lethal hypothesis. What if the collapse was a conscious choice rather than just a random event? The film dives into the depths of a remote survival training center run by a survivalist expert, where people train to live in a post-civilization world, but things quickly turn into a real survival struggle. The analysis here lies in observing how discipline turns into madness, and how human bonds disintegrate when the law disappears and resources become scarce. The curiosity here turns toward the human psyche under the pressure of isolation. We are not watching a struggle against an external enemy, but rather watching the erosion of trust within the group itself. As soon as an unexpected training accident occurs, all masks fall, and everyone begins to wonder, is my friend today my adversary tomorrow? The film represents a field study in collective paranoia, showing how total preparation for the end of the world might be the primary catalyst for the collapse itself. This journey from training to self-destruction teaches us that the greatest danger facing humanity is not harsh external conditions, but the inner demon that waits for the right moment to emerge, which paves our way toward facing true sacrifice in our fourth film, Cargo. While the previous film depicted the struggle of the group, Cargo reduces the struggle for survival to a single father trying to protect his daughter in a world destroyed by a zombie epidemic. Here, we do not find noise or traditional horror tropes, but a film that redefines the meaning of humanity in the harshest of circumstances, where sacrifice is the only currency remaining. The film analyzes the emotional bond between a father and his child, placing it against a biological inevitability. The protagonist knows he will turn into a monster, yet he continues the journey. The curiosity in this film lies in observing how love can transcend the boundaries of death and disease, and how the desolate Australian landscape becomes a stage for a story of hope amidst ruins. Andy's journey is a search for a safe place, but the real goal is to preserve the innocence of childhood in a world that has lost its mind. The film poses a painful emotional question. How far can a father go to protect a piece of his heart before surrendering to his inevitable end? It is not just a zombie story, but an elegy for the beauty of the human spirit that refuses to surrender even in the moment the body loses its humanity. And this persistence for life leads us to the fifth film, which embodies the struggle of innocence against the greed of systems. Okja. We conclude our journey with Okja, a film that blends science fiction and social satire into a stunning visual mix, where the relationship between the girl, Mija, and her strange creature represents a symbolic struggle between nature and corporate greed. The analysis here goes beyond the story into a biting critique of a system that turns everything into a consumer product, ignoring true emotional bonds. The curiosity raises questions about the ethics of genetic manipulation and the major corporations that control our food and future under the guise of innovation. Okja is not just a pet. It is the embodiment of innocence being exploited in a world that recognizes only profit, and Mija here represents the voice of conscience that refuses to submit to this system. The film pushes the viewer to think about their daily meal and the fate of the creatures we share the planet with, making it a political film par excellence wrapped in an emotional shell. It is the perfect conclusion to this list because it combines all the previous themes: obsession, mystery, survival, and sacrifice, and places them in a framework that demands we reevaluate our values. Will we remain mere cogs in this machine, or will we choose to side with innocence and compassion despite all the pressure? This film offers no easy answers, but leaves you burdened with questions that will accompany you long after the credits roll. Now, after unmasking these 5 works, tell me honestly, do you feel you are still the same person who started this video? Or has a bit of collapse crept into your convictions? The truth that everyone is afraid to admit is that we are all in these films. We watch the lives of others like The Occupant. We wait for the network to cut out to know our value like in Leave the World Behind. And we fear the traitors within our circle like in The Collapse. But the most important question I want to see in the comments is, which of these 5 films was the most brutal in confronting you with your own truth? And do you believe that we, as humans, will remain holding onto our humanity in a world like Okja? Or have we already sold our consciences? Don't just watch in silence. If you have another film that you believe challenges our thinking more than this list, write it in the comments. And be ready to defend your opinion because I will be there to challenge your logic. Subscribe now, not because we need the numbers, but because you are part of this discussion that has just begun. Who will dare to reply first?